Hi, everyone. Welcome to Executive Viewpoint. Today, we have with us Karthik Srinivasan. Karthik, before we start, do you want to give a short introduction?
Sure. Hey Vijay, pleasure talking to you. So, my name is Karthik Srinivasan. I work as a technical program manager in digital space managing iOS application for Citibank. I have 17 years of industry in the financial space, working across projects in some of the major North American banks like Bank of New York Mellon, Bank of America, Citibank, and Capital One. And yeah, this is my 17th year in the banking industry, to be precise.
Great to have you with us, Karthik, today. So, what is keeping you up these days? That'll be my first question.
It's interesting times, right? Because no one saw this coming. I've lived through the 2008 recession where all of us have seen what was ahead of us. But at least there you know what was coming and what you are in for. But you didn't know the depth of the issues that you are going to face. That was always a given, right? Because every problem has a completely different flavor to it. But this one hit us from nowhere. For example, all the executives and leaders had a very aggressive roadmap that they wanted to achieve for 2020. 2019 was a good year in terms of economy, so 2020 was going to be even better. That was a prediction, right? So people had an aggressive roadmap, both from a company as well as a division perspective, and all of us were geared up at full staff to go full throttle on achieving that. But month and a half into the whole execution, everything came to a screeching halt. And I believe the most difficult decision that the executives were to take was, how do we recalibrate this whole situation now, right? Trying to pivot from what they were trying to achieve to actually keep lights on and make sure they serve their customers in the best possible way they could.
Yeah, I know it is a tough situation. So, based on your experience, right, how are the banks coping up? Operationally, what are the changes that are happening right now?
So, in terms of operations, I would like to categorize it two ways, right? How are we servicing the customers and how are we managing the technology operations within the bank? In terms of customer servicing, as you are aware, most of the branches are closed and we are not sure how long it is going to be the case as well, right? So trying to staff up the banks to a capacity where they will be able to help the customers for what they need at the pace and volume they could, but also keep the employees safe because too much exposure can hurt your employees as well. So that's one aspect of it. And in terms of IT operations, which I am a part of, infrastructure has always been a huge question mark because we always prepare for handling additional capacity, but that's always to the tune of 15 to 20%, right? That's the buffer you typically build. But if you look now, suddenly all the branch banking traffic has been routed to digital, which means you have started seeing surreal spike in terms of digital banking. So to keep the health of your application and your banking systems prudent has been one of the key challenges because in today's world, right, even a 15-minute outage can cause a social media storm. So you want to try and avoid that. So these have been some of the key challenges that the executives are trying to navigate through.
So, this situation continues for another 6 months, right? How would you think the banking industry will change or will it cope up?
See, even before this COVID, right, with all the fintechs coming up, there was already a huge pressure for the banks to change the way that they operate, right? Because they cannot be a traditional banking bandwagon that they were, right? I mean, they had to branch out and start doing different things. And fortunately, the company I am part of, or Citibank that I'm working for, they are way too aggressive. They do have their fintech exposure already that they have created. They were already going at a pace which they thought was optimal. Now, just that with the whole situation, they're trying to innovate a lot more faster. And like you said, given this is going to be the new normal for God knows how long, And the fact that there could be another episode like this, I think everything is going to change with the way how things are going to be done. And I am fairly confident that banks will start thinking very innovatively and then start thinking about moving more things digital.
So I think the companies that have managed the best in this situation, right, current situation, are the ones who were already on their path of their digital transformation. That is for one, right? Another is, I think, who are more agile in their leadership and who are more quick to adapt to these changes, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, okay.
I mean, we have to break away from the fundamental thought process, right?
Correct.
And then try to push customers. I know some people would not be on board with your whole idea of going digital because of whatever concerns that they might have in terms of privacy and other things. But I think this is an opportunity for us to educate the customers with all the benefits of digital banking and slowly drive the traffic away from branch banking to digital, which was already in the works, I would say, but this has only accelerated the whole process.
Sure. And operationally, again, is your bank looking at any staffing changes, like doing 50% on one day and rest of the, especially for the branches?
Yeah, I think branches have been operating at 50% capacity because they didn't want to get everybody at one time, which is obviously causing a lot more risk. So they are trying to piecemeal staff at a time. But this can't continue for long, right? I mean, eventually we'll hit a point where if the branch banking volume continues to go up, it will be hard for the folks to keep up. So right now, I don't think there is a solution, but the only way is trying to move digital. So that's why if you look at least the division I work for, right, they have tried to put a pause on all the new innovative ideas that they had for implementation for 2020. And then they had tried to reassure themselves that the infrastructure supporting the digital capabilities that they have are 100% rock solid with no performance issues, I would say. And then, but this cannot continue as well. Eventually, they'll have to go back innovating because other banks are breathing down the neck in terms of competition with new products. So I think it's going to be a very interesting phase or an interesting transition where we start adapting ourselves to do innovative things amidst all of this.
I think another area of banking, right, where I think there'll be a major impact is your personal relationship banking, right, where especially at the high end of the spectrum, right. I'm not sure how the banks will adopt. Maybe there'll be more Zoom calls to establish that relationship between the customer and the associates. Do you see any changes already happening?
No, I think high net worth individuals and that portion of banking, right, will remain solid because you have an established relationship with the bank. So I think there will be custom products that would be created just for them to be serviced. So at this point, I don't really see that changing, but the bigger impact I see is with small businesses, right? Because if you look at small businesses, your mom and pop stores and all that, they're not fully digital. They use branch banking and they use cash for a lot of their transactions, right? They are the ones who are going to be most impacted. And even if you look at that PPP program and the disbursement that were in place, right? Even though no matter how quickly you adopt, still the surge in terms of applications and volume, I mean, that was surreal to support.
Sure.
And all this will be ironed out, and I think there's going to be a new process that will get established to handle such things in future.
And I think the next quarter is going to be interesting when a lot of these small businesses, right, they might start defaulting on all their loans. Then that will be another challenge if the situation continues, that is.
Oh, yeah. And even if you look at the bigger corporations, right, for example, the banks that have major exposure to all the oil companies, what if they start defaulting? What if the homes go into foreclosure? What if they start defaulting? What happened? What that does to your balance sheet? I think these are things to watch. But I think banks have also become a lot more, I would say, empathetic with the way how they are dealing things now. from what it was in 2008. So they have basically tuned out how the whole process of collecting debt is going to occur. I think people are working towards that to make it more easier on the customers, considering the long-term impact it could have on the relationship with them.
I mean, I know a lot of changes have been done already to adapt to the situation. But what do you think will stick, right? Once the things start to, even after things start opening up, right? There are certain changes that are going to stick with us forever now. So what do you think are some of those changes?
Speaking from the IT side of things, right, which is where I am predominantly working, I feel that this whole concept of agile and working from the office, that's going to be I think that's going to fundamentally change because it's going to be more like a distributed agile. What happens to all your agile concepts that you have built over years with the understanding that your team will be co-located all the time? And the best part is some of the banks have been hesitant with people working remote. But now I keep hearing on the news, and I've been talking to other colleagues of mine where the clients have started, where the bank executives have started appreciating the fact that productivity has gone up. We save a lot in commute time, and the flexibility kind of helps people motivate to work even more, right? Because instead of spending like 90 minutes one way on the traffic, at least that's what I do, you might as well spend that 90 minutes connected from home. I think that mindset is going to change, and that's going to be a big win-win for both the employees as well as the employers. Because if you look at the employers, they don't have to keep those large buildings operational with a lot of overhead costs trying to support all the employees. Sure. And for employees also, it gives a little bit of flexibility in terms of how they can manage their work schedule.
But if you want work from home to stay, right, especially for the banks, I think there'll be additional investment needed in security, right? There needs to be a security and threat assessment to be done, right, with employees working out of your on-prem systems and working remotely. So that's another area that needs to be looked at.
True, but I believe banks are already mature in terms of handling it within the states. But the issue is more going to be how do they handle their offshore counterparts, right? Because that's where they have not much of a control. If you typically look at all the employees within United States, either they work from home or they work from office, they already have a dedicated laptop, they get onto the company network, and they can't access much outside of it. So your data is primarily secure. But the challenge that they would have or will have in the future if this model of distributed agile is going to occur is how do they manage their offshore bases where they have majority of the employees who are supporting these critical applications. I think that's going to be an interesting challenge.
I thought that will be that will lead to more offshoring, right? Now there is no need to pay, hire and high paying an engineer here, right? If everybody is working remote, they might as well work from offshore. You don't think that that's going to be a future thing, or?
In fact, I look at it the contrary, because now that you give the employees to work remote, right? People wouldn't mind. I would not say they would mind a salary cut, but they wouldn't look for as competitive salary as they would ideally want, given that the flexibility they get and like to work on projects that they get to work. And also the attrition rate might slow down, because majority of the attrition that happens, at least with the folks I have worked over years, right? It's basically the location constraint. Let's say you find something in Bay Area, you'll have to relocate there. The cost of living is twice as Texas, and obviously you cannot support your family. But if the same company could allow you to work in Texas, it's a win-win for both of them, right? So I'm thinking more on the opposite, where the employees will feel a lot more freedom and flexibility, and that will drive them to stick to the company that they're working for instead of trying to move around like earlier. But again, that's just my humble opinion, right? We'll have to see how that pans out.
I think that's pretty much what I had for today. Anything else you want to add in the closing comments?
No, like I said, I mean, this is uncharted territory, right? So there's going to be a lot of new opportunities for a lot of new companies to come and establish themselves as key players. So like everybody, I'm also just surviving through the wave right now and trying to see what's on the other side. So it's going to be interesting times ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much, Karthik, for taking the time today. See you again. Thank you.
Thanks, Vijay. Appreciate it. You have a good one.
You too.